The seas around Scotland support around 6,500 species of animals and plants, from our huge seabird populations to over 22 species of cetacean, over 60 species of shark, including the basking shark, which is the second largest fish in the world. And we now know that those animals visit us on an annual basis to come here during the summer, but then head south down to the west coast of Africa to overwinter. We also have many invertebrate species, including some remarkable examples such as the flame shell beds, where we have some of the largest, if not the largest beds in the whole of the world. One particular bed in Loch Alsh is estimated to hold over 100 million individual shells. And we have just recently discovered another bed which is even larger. So we still have an awful lot to discover. As well as hosting this vast array of species and habitats, the seas around Scotland provide us with a whole range of different services. What's now referred to as ecosystem services, from provision of food through fisheries, recreation, sailing, surfing and scuba diving, to protection against storms with the vast kelp beds, particularly off the west coast of Scotland, that absorb much of the wave energy before it hits the fragile coasts of the Western Isles, to even the mitigation of climate change through the capture of carbon in habitats such as marl beds. But with all of these services come pressures on the marine environment as well. The dangers of overfishing and the damage that some fishing activities can cause to some of these vulnerable habitats. The fish farming and the conflicts between predators of the fish farms and the fish farmers. And it's important to get the balance right. We need to use and exploit the marine environment, but in a sustainable way, not in a cavalier way. And by and large, within Scotland, we are seeing that there is good management of the marine environment, but there is always opportunities to improve that. There are, of course, a number of other challenges, major challenges, that are affecting the marine environment as a whole, but also particular species, especially at the moment the harbour seals, or common seal it is also known. Scotland was a real stronghold for common seals until recently, when we have seen numbers declining dramatically to such an extent that Orkney, which was the stronghold for harbour seals in Scotland, has seen a decline in its population of over 90% in the last 10 years. We don't know the reasons for this. There's a lot of research going on at the universities in Scotland to try and answer some of these questions, but at the moment it remains a complete mystery. The greatest challenge probably facing the marine environment, and indeed the planet at the moment, is climate change, and we are already seeing impacts from climate change on the marine environment of Scotland. We are seeing new species that are managing to move northwards from their southern refuges into Scotland as a result of sea temperature rising. At the same time as us gaining these species, we are also losing species which are more adapted to the previous cold conditions that were typical of Scottish waters until recently. The implications of this for the ecosystems are yet completely unknown. This is an area where we can involve local people in some citizen science through getting them to adopt a beach and to go out and search for a small number of species which are easily recognisable, which will tell us whether we're losing particular species from an area and indeed gaining other species. There are many remarkable wonders in the marine environment of Scotland, the habitats and species that occur from the shore down to the deep ocean. Most of these are inaccessible to most people within Scotland, but everyone can get some excitement from visiting a shore at low tide, rummaging around under the seaweed, turning over boulders to see what lives underneath, and looking in the rock pools, which gives you a microscopic view of what is going on under the waves. For those who are a little bit more adventurous and are prepared to go snorkeling, they can visit and experience the shallow waters just off the low tide mark in the kelp forests and over marl beds. But then for those who are a little bit more adventurous and go scuba diving, they can go down to depths of 30 or 40 metres and see habitats which are certainly unavailable to everyone else. And it's habitats like this that we need to help everyone learn to cherish and to protect for the future and for future generations.